All right, y'all. So we got to talk about the growth of these dragons. We got to talk about Syrax and all that stuff. Let's go. So let's get right to it, right? So because it was the finale was so great. I'm gonna use any excuse to keep talking about the finale. But the finale was amazing, and in the finale, like we all saw, there was this scene that was kind of a repeat of a previous meeting that Rhaenyra, Daemon, and Otto kind of had, right? And of course, I talked about it in my previous video. If you want to see me review the finale, make sure you check out my channel for that. Check my channel for that. But because it literally happened in the same exact way, like almost the same exact way, we were able to clearly see Syrax's size, and it was the same size as you can see here. Like, okay, so here is Rhaenyra with her crown on, older Rhaenyra, of course, on top of Syrax, and here is younger Rhaenyra on top of Syrax, and Syrax is the same size, right? Now, in the lore of Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, House of the Dragon, whatever, in the lore, we know that dragons do not stop growing, period. They just don't stop growing. The only thing that can really inhibit their growth is if you lock their asses up, right? Which this is part of what contributed to the downfall of the Targaryens, because not only were they tearing each other apart, tearing the kingdom apart, with their dragons and going to war with each other, but a lot of them were locking up their dragons in the dragon pit, right? And so that's gonna automatically inhibit their growth. If they don't ever stop, as long as you feed them and they eating and shit, and they are allowed to roam and do whatever they want and hunt and all that, like they are able to keep growing. They're not gonna stop growing. So locking them up, and we also saw that in Daenerys, when Daenerys locked up her dragons. Granted, Viserion and Rhaegal were naturally a little bit smaller, I guess, maybe from my understanding, than Drogon a little bit, but definitely locking them up when she did, because it was wreaking havoc in Marine. Locking them up when she did definitely stunted their growth, and you saw it when she came back out, or when the dragons escaped and they burnt up them ships, right? And you just saw the size difference when they were escaping. And you always see the size difference, but that definitely had a part to play in it. So, but my thing is, like, how long had Rhaenyra been living on Dragonstone? Because Syrax was not in the dragon pit, right? On Dragonstone, the dragons like to make lairs. They like to, make their little lairs in the volcanoes or whatever, in caves and shit, but they're flying around. Like, you see them flying around, they doing their own thing. Caraxes, even Caraxes I think should have been way bigger. I'll get on that in a second, but if Rhaenyra had been living on Dragonstone and Syrax was just allowed to just chill and do what she wanted to do on Dragonstone, then I feel like we should have seen Syrax get a little bigger. So is it because when she was living in King's Landing, she did have Syrax in the dragon pit, and that's what stunted the growth? But my thing is that, like I said, she'd been living on Dragonstone for so long. I feel like the dragon should be much bigger than that. It should be in my opinion, it should be much bigger than that. Because think about Daenerys. From the moment that she arrived to Dragonstone, and that beautiful scene when she had all three of her babies. Oh my gosh, y'all about to get me emotional. But when she had all three of her babies and she came to Dragonstone, they immediately went from flying over them with the ships. As soon as they saw the castle, they started circling around it. And that's how they were just chilling on Dragonstone. They weren't locked up. They was chilling. When Daenerys was about to leave Tyrion to go save Jon Snow, stupid ass, because like I said, that's the only thing that Jon Snow know how to do, is get saved and get resurrected, and everybody else moved the plot forward. You know what I mean? When they had literally told Gendry to teleport back so that he could send a raven to Dragonstone so that Daenerys could teleport beyond the wall. Let's not get into it. But when Daenerys was leaving, you could see that Drogon, Rhaegal, all of them, they was just chilling on Dragonstone. So I'm saying, like, if they wanted to find a cave or something to chill in, they were completely able to do that, right? And so I'm saying, if that was happening with Daenerys' dragons, I see no reason for it not to be happening with Rhaenyra's dragons while she's living on Dragonstone. And for that reason, I feel like if you're not locked up in the dragon pit at King's Landing, you should be much bigger than the last time we saw you, than the whole debacle with Daemon and the egg. Like, she should be way bigger. And in my opinion, even Caraxes should be bigger, even though, I mean, it's just been so many years. It's been so many years. And on top of that, Caraxes wasn't, I mean, of course, Caraxes spent some time in the goddamn dragon pit. But if Caraxes was down there in the Stepstones, and then now on top of that, Caraxes is living at Dragonstone, I just don't see why these dragons should be remaining one size. I really hope that they are not doing that. I hope they're not letting these dragons just stay one size for the whole entire season. It just doesn't rub me the right way, especially because almost every single time that we've seen Drogon, you know, running away with his ass running away all the time. Every single time we've seen Drogon, we knew the next time he was gonna be even bigger than what he was before, and that's what happened. And that's what happened. So I really want to know what you guys think about this. Like, do you think that this is like a oversight on the part of the showrunners, or they just don't want to do too much CGI? Or do you think that they're implying that the time that some of these dragons spent being locked up really contributed that much to the stunting of their growth, you know? But for how quickly and how insane Drogon got, like how big he got, and especially for how young Drogon was, it's compared to some of the rest of these dragons on the show. Like, I feel like some of these dragons should be as big as Drogon, or nearly as big. You know, I know that Drogon is a little special, especially for those of you who know like a lot about what goes on in the books, because they do reference Drogon as Balerion come again, or like a reincarnation of Balerion the Black Dread. So it obviously, like, Drogon's just gonna be big as fuck, like, regardless, you know? But I think that there is an element of Daenerys' dragons and the growth of Daenerys' dragons that we should really see in House of the Dragon. And I really hope that in the upcoming seasons, like, we get to see them get even bigger. Like, all of them. I think all of them should get much bigger. And I really hope for a much more up close and personal take on these dragons in the future of the show, especially if Ryan Condal or the showrunners in general are talking about, yeah, we're going to slow down the pacing of the show. Obviously, like, I think season 1 was a great setup. I'm sure a lot of people had their issues with it, but I think given the material that they had to cover, I think they did a good job. So if the pacing is going to be slower, and that means we're going to be spending more time with the characters, I really hope that season 2 allows us to see the kinds of relationships that these different characters have with their dragons, and we need some time with them. We need to see how they interact with each other. Like, that was one of the really cool things about the dragons in Game of Thrones, like the original series, because we got to see the difference in their personalities. Drogon was fucking rebellious. Drogon was rebellious. He would snap at his mama face. He would just run away. He would take her places where she don't want to go. He would even be bullying his brothers and shit, Rhaegal them and Viserion. Like, he would be a bully, you know. But, you know, as he got older and as the bond between Daenerys and Drogon got a little bit stronger and he respected her more, they were able to be more on one accord, right? As they evolved. So I would love to see that. I would love to see, is Caraxes just as fucking rebellious and angry? I'm sure he is. We all know that. But, like, seeing it would be cool on screen. Like, we know Caraxes is rebellious and he like to snap at people. He could get pissed easily. Vhagar, she fucking tired. She's tired of the bullshit, but she'll get active, obviously, like we saw. What is Syrax personalities? Like, you know, I want to see that. I wish we could have seen Erex's personality a little bit more before she got chewed up. No shade. And then fucking Laenor left Sea Smoke for goddamn dead. God damn, he just rode his fucking roll your boat. Roll your boat with this twink. Like, I'm sorry, ain't no twink. Let me leave my bitch. I'm going to get my dragon hoe. I don't care what y'all talking about. I'm going to get my dragon. So, you see what I'm saying? Like, so I really want us to dive into the dragons even more. Like, season 1 was definitely more, as it should be, you know, because you want an emotional kind of foundation for the Dance of Dragons, like, otherwise the shit won't have as much of an impact. So season 1 was definitely more an interpersonal, you know, relationships, emotional stuff going on, seeing why people do what they do, interactions, dialogue, and all that shit. We needed it for season 1, and we definitely need it throughout the entire show. But I'm hoping that we get to see more of the interactions and the relationship and personalities when it comes to these dragons. And they need to grow, baby. I want to be able to see obvious size differences in season 2. Like, very, very obvious size differences. Especially if we talk about taking these dragons to war and shit. Like, it's been years. I mean, they're not locked up, especially the ones on Dragonstone. They are allowed to go live in a lair, do whatever the fuck they want, fly around, do what they want. So it's like, I really, really hope that we can see that in the future. Let me know what y'all think about this. Am I overthinking it, or did y'all notice it too? Because I'm like, ain't no way that Syrax should be the same fucking size that she was when Rhaenyra was over here dealing with that egg situation with Daemon, like, and Otto. Like, it just ain't no way. So let me know what y'all think, and I'll catch y'all later.